What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this video for the First Descendant, we are looking at HOTFIX 1.2.13, basically the latest patch for the game. Pretty much what we can refer to as the Ines Nerf patch, since this patch was the one that was telegraphed by the developer where they would adjust Ines's power level. It also turns out that a bunch of other Descendants were also adjusted, which is really cool, and we're going to go through all of those patch notes and everything. However, I want to start the video out specifically focusing on Ines for like several reasons. First of all, the fact that she's the only Descendant out of the list of Descendants that we're going to be talking about that actually received a nerf. The rest of them were buffed, some significantly. Secondly, I think this is possibly the reason why most people would watch this video in any case, to kind of like see what they did to Ines and if it's as bad as it kind of seems like on paper. And then last but certainly not least, it's also the only thing that I've actually tested. So I have before footage of what Ines used to be like, and then of course I've tested now with the new values and so on. But let me start off by saying that first of all, it's not that she has been nerfed into the ground. It is definitely going to seem that way when we read the patch notes, but what you're looking at in the background right now is footage that I captured on a video that I did for the Queen of Mobbing Ines build video that I did, I think like a week ago or something. And in here you can see the damage values. You can see me essentially just going through, you know, waves of enemies. It's just a short snippet of sort of gameplay just to show you exactly how she just eats out. And then what you will now see is some footage of me actually testing after the patch dropped. And the thing that you're going to notice is, if you have an eagle eye for this, is that you're going to notice that the damage values aren't that much different. You are still absolutely slamming fucking enemies and you're dealing a whole bunch of damage. But fundamentally, the nerf to her has kind of like crippled her in two other ways. One of those ways was necessary, I believe, and the other one is kind of like really hurtful to a kid. Now, the first thing, let's discuss the one which was really necessary, and that's the fact that she has now been adjusted that her shots and basically her lightning and everything like that can't go through walls anymore. Essentially, when it hits a surface, it stops, and so therefore she is pretty much the same as every other Descendant now. And I think that this was necessary because of the fact that no other Descendant has this advantage. So it's kind of like weird that she's the only one that's able to do that. And if she's able to shoot through walls, then at least some of the other Descendants should be able to do so as well. And I'm fine with her not being able to do that. That's okay. The other area where you're really going to feel the pinch with her now is her cooldowns. So her cooldowns have been significantly increased, and if we go to the actual patch notes over here, let's just quickly go through this. But this is the area where I feel like most of the pain now with her, and it kind of like makes her fourth ability feel like you really have to choose when you shoot it. So Snare Hunter becomes much more like something that you don't necessarily spam, but that you kind of like save for special occasions or something like that when you need to deal a bunch of damage. So when we look over here, we can see that basically what you have on the left side is skills, and what you have on the right side is mods. So this will be the same for all of the changes that we look at. But first of all, Chain Lightning, its cooldown's been pushed from 7 seconds to 10 seconds. Its base damage has also slightly been dropped. And then the additional chain damage that you get with Conductor has also been dropped. So all in all, like a triple nerf in a way there. But again, like I said, from a damage profile, it's not something that I necessarily felt was that fucking insane, but the cooldown is noticeable and you do actually feel that. Lightning Conductor, on the other hand, gets a cooldown increase as well of 20 seconds, but gets an MP cost reduction and actually a base damage increase. Now, a lot of people never use the second ability. Pretty much like a lot of Ines players I see kind of like just roll the first ability and then just shoot out fucking Snare Hunter on cooldown the entire time. This second ability, which is essentially something that you should trigger after you run your first ability, is now quite stronger and actually packs quite a punch. So this is definitely something that you want to consider rolling into your rotations, especially because it has additional damage inflicted with Conductor. This has also been buffed. So where we saw a nerf on Chain Lightning, this is actually an increase in damage on Lightning Conductor. This is a much better skill now. And then the number of targets have been increased from 3 to 7. Again, a big buff. So Lightning Conductor is absolutely worth you actually rolling into your rotations now. Yes, it is on the 20-second cooldown, but that's before cooldown reduction and stuff, and you can actually get it pretty much to about, I think about 8, maybe 7, maybe 9 seconds, something like that, which is not that bad and actually very usable. Snare Hunter is, of course, her fourth ability, and this has its cooldown significantly increased. Okay. This one is very noticeable. A big part of her toolkit was the fact that you pretty much had Snare Hunter available the entire time, and sometimes you could have multiples of these out on one fucking battlefield, like 3 fucking ticking at the same time. Those days are gone, at the very least, unless you significantly overhaul your mods, and there's some ways that you can possibly still pull off like 2 at the same time, but then you're gonna wait for, you know, the rest to come back. The projectile damage has been nerfed, the continuous damage has been nerfed, the current coils has been nerfed, and the continuous damage interval, so the amount of ticks as it fire is now not twice per second anymore, but rather 0.7 seconds. So basically like twice every 1.5 or 1.4 seconds. All right. Now, additional damage to enemies inflicted with Conductor has also been nerfed. So Chain Lightning and Snare Hunter took the fucking brunt of the blast here. Her third ability has not been touched at all, and then Lightning Conductor, as I said, has actually been nerfed. Then Time of the Hunting Hounds, which is pretty much the mod, that the Transcendent mod that you use with her when you are running her in a mobbing setup. This has also been altered and nerfed. So Floating Lightning is the replacement to Chain Lightning that happens because of Time of the Hunting Hounds, and this basically says that its cooldown has also been increased. So remember that Chain Lightning with Time of the Hunting Hounds has like 3 stacks, and the cooldown is severely faster so that you can have it like available all the time. Now, this doesn't seem like a big increase in cooldown, but it is noticeable once again, where you always had that skill available if you stacked your cooldown. Now there can be times where you can use it to the point where you have a short little wait time that you have before you can use it. The stack cooldown is also increased, and this is of course what affects us here. So both of these two together is essentially why you will run into issues where if you aren't one of those players that have invested, I would say, heavily in cooldown reduction 4, then this is really going to fucking blow up your rotations, and you're going to feel it for sure. The base damage has also been chopped, and then additional damage to enemies has also been chopped. So this is basically almost by half, and this is by, I guess, like, what is that? Fucking 40%, something like that. I don't know, whatever. All in all, look, this is a nerf. There's no sugarcoating this bullshit. It is a fucking nerf, okay? And there's gonna be a section at the end where I'm going to address all of this and so on. So I'll be talking about nerfs and buffs and like that in its totality. But yes, she has been nerfed. This is the adjustment that we knew that was coming for like a long time now, and I think this is gonna piss a lot of people off. People are going off on Twitter about this, and I think I haven't checked Reddit yet, but I can imagine there's gonna be a couple of unhappy people. But the bottom line is, this is gonna piss off people, because people are gonna feel like they invested in this Descendant, they possibly spent money on this Descendant, and so now they feel like, you know, she's inferior to other choices that are available out there. I will say this, I still think she's an exceptionally strong mobbing Descendant. She's just not nearly at the same power level that she was before. The cooldowns really do hurt, and the fact that you could abuse things like standing in a room and shooting shit in the next room is now also gone. So, you know, it is what it is. But that's it, that's the Ines Nerf. So let's continue on and look at the rest of the changes that we saw in this patch. Alrighty, so as mentioned, this is HOTFIX 1.2.13. Quite a hefty adjustment patch, more than I think what we were expecting. I was expecting like Ines getting changed and like a couple of other things and so on. And then when I saw the patch notes and it said Descendants, I was like, oh shit, here we go. Okay, so we're going to start off with Lepic. Now, again, like I said, on the left side, this column here is the skill adjustments, so the Descendant skills, and then if any skill modules, so Transcendent mods and things like that, have been adjusted for the Descendant, then it'll be on the right side. So with Lepic, we saw a massive MP cost, basically reduction for his grenade show. Grenade throw, and we saw a fucking significant damage increase. Like, this is nuts. Is this big enough for you guys? Like, should I just fucking adjust this up, like maybe something like this? Yeah, let's do that. All right, so this is a pretty big fucking adjustment. Overclock has its cost also reduced by essentially 4 MP, and then Overkill, which is the arm cannon, had like a cooldown adjustment. So it had different cooldowns at which level the skill was. So all skills can go from level 1 to 4 as you level the character for the first time, from level 1 to 40. And so now they've essentially unified the cooldowns for it at 70 seconds on all levels. So at level 4 before it was 80 seconds, so it was 10 seconds more than what it is now. But it is like at level 1, it's like a 5-second nerf essentially. But then from then on, it becomes basically better. And then at level 4, you basically winning 10 seconds out of this. So again, a buff. Increased efficiency as a Transcendent mod. This fire rate increased by 60%, and the damage also essentially basically doubled up. So this is big old buff to Lepic. I love it. But guys, this is still not the fucking insanest shit. There's insane shit coming. Buckle up. Let's go. Okay, next is fucking Jayber. God damn it. Okay, so Jayber, they've again messed with the turrets. So they've increased their HP, their MP, their skill power, and their shield. So they've made the turrets tougher, and they've also made them essentially, you know, have more skill power. Reactivate is also basically doubled up in damage. And then the Transcendant mod here, immediate purge code, has its explosive damage and electrical AoE damage also like increased significantly. This is still not, and again, I'm going to get to this topic when we get to the end of the video, but this is still like does fucking nothing for me because they're adjusting things on Jayber which are not the problem. But okay, I digress. We'll get back to it. Then we see Blair, and this is ahead of Ultimate Blair, which is dropping soon. I think like fucking next week from the recording of this video. And so this is supposed to already like affect a lot of the I guess the things that we might be strong in Ultimate Blair, but also just essentially, you know, increase his viability. I will say this though, just looking at the paper maths here, this is a fucking ginormous buff to this Descendant. So Blair is about to become like a fuck beast, and I'm here for it. So burn damage has increased equally for all modules and skills. Burn damage has basically, you know, doubled from 40 to 80. And that's just, you know, like the ticks, right? Then blaze up, the flame zone damage is also, so there's a lot of like doubling up going on here. So they've taken a lot of the values and just been like, times that shit by 2, dog. Let's see what happens. So then extinguish, movement speed increase amount 25%. Burn taste damage has also been increased way more than double, so very, very much. And then deadly cuisine is just like fucking huge damage increase from 407% to 1628% for the fucking giant fireball. Smaller fireball is also like been buffed quite fucking insane, and then so has the zone. So yeah, Blair's looking thick right now. Then on the mod side, his Incendiary Bomb Transcendent mod has a Flame Zone damage buff. The Truly Deadly Cuisine has an Explosion damage buff. So this Deadly Cuisine becomes truly deadly cuisine when you put this Transcendent mod on. And essentially, I believe if I remember correctly, it removes the flame zones that could be caused and the little fireballs, but it makes one big fat fucking fireball. So this is 12,638%. That's a fat boy. It's a fucking nuclear missile. Then backdraft, blaze up, the flame zone. Again, the flame zone has pretty much been increased for all of these uniformly, right? Classic chef, blaze up, same thing. So they've basically just increased that those AoEs that you can put down, the flame zones, those just essentially have more damage now. And then Deadly Cuisine, Giant Fireball, again, this upgrades Deadly Cuisine just into like a way better, you know, like skill, but still keeping the same characteristics as the spell, right? So you have a big increase to the Giant Fireball, an increase to the small fireballs, and then an increase to, you know, the Flame Zone. But this is, you can see here, actually, I mean... And then this section here, I think, is just essentially a copy of this here. So this is just actually belongs on that side, because this is just another explanation of his 4th skill. So yeah, okay, cool. Luna. All right, so Noise Surge is her AoE damage fucking Transcendent mod, and essentially turns her from a support buffing Descendant into one that can do AoE. This has also been buffed a lot. So all skill damage has been adjusted equally for Noise Surge. A normal damage, a enhanced damage, and a disturbing noise damage have all been increased significantly. So 742 to 1113 is no small fucking jump. So those Luna players out there that enjoy, you know, this kind of fucking, I still don't like her playstyle, but you can't argue with the fact that her AoE is really, really good, and I believe it's the biggest AoE that you can cause in the game. I could be wrong. I think it's a toss-up between her and Gley, but you know, Gley's fucking like that siphon ability of hers. But I think this is nearly as big in terms of like radius, like around you, how big you can cause the AoE. So yeah, she's pretty good. I mean, she's always been good. She's slept on a lot, but because she's annoying to play, but like her damage is fucking insane. Okay, then we have Esiemo. Esiemo got like fucking this is a lot. Okay, so Advantageous Habit has a damage increase. Time Bomb has a cooldown increase from 12 seconds to 13.5 and an MP cost reduction of 1. but then it has its radius increased by a meter, and its damage essentially doubled almost as well. Then Blast has a cooldown reduction. Damage increase per bomb has pretty much almost tripled. And then skill power increase up to 8 times, up to 4 times. So, oh, okay, cool. So now this is kind of like a nerf though, right? We have more damage, but the skill power increase is now only 4 times and not 8 times. And unless the skill power increase value has been adjusted, basically you get less skill power over time. So yeah, anyway. Guided landmine has a longer cooldown now. Explosive damage range has also increased by 1. So kind of like what they did with time bomb, it's the same thing. And then a much bigger damage profile as well over here, as you can see. Then arc explosion, this has a defense decrease. Okay, so usually what that did though is it made you very glad, like it was like a all-in kind of move. Like you activated and then you kind of like lost like a bunch of defense and you basically ran into the enemies and exploded on them. So now the defense decreases a lot less. It's only 10% instead of 30, which is fucking huge. And then we see a pretty big explosive damage increase as well, from 7,414% to 15,155. Okay, then his Transcendent mod's Cluster Bomb has its cooldown. So while they increase the cooldowns on this side, right, with base Esiemo, then when you slap in the Transcendent mods, it actually starts affecting the cooldown. So cooldown here is from 2.2 seconds to 2. Damage increase per bomb is pretty big. It's like a triple. Skill power increase up to 8 times, up to 4 times. So that increased the same change that we saw over here on Blast. And then explosive damage has a buff and burn damage has a buff. Explosive propaganda, I believe that's the one that fucking taunts enemies or something like that. So this has a smaller cooldown now by about 6 seconds. And its explosive damage has pretty much doubled up. Then creative explosion, the blast cooldown has been reduced, damage by bomb has been increased, and this thing, so pretty much the same that we saw here on blast on this side here. And then creative explosion, oh, it's the same stuff, right? Am I right? Yeah, it's the same adjustments on this side. So basically, yeah, it's kind of like it just includes those changes here. This is weird. I mean, is this... Now I'm like confused, because is this... Right? Is this the adjustment to base Esiemo? Because then the Transcendent mod doesn't really do anything. My fucking... I don't know. I mean, creative explosion here, the thing is, it adjusts, I believe, arc explosion, right? So it makes arc explosion work differently, right? And it has more bombs. Okay, and then there's damage per bomb. So you can see here's the damage difference here versus, you know, this one over here. Okay, fine, cool. Right, next is Enzo. So Enzo has an adjustment to explosive drone with a cooldown reduction of 3 seconds, a 1 MP less cost, and then an explosive damage increase. So this is the drone that flies out and explodes. I mean, people don't really play fucking Enzo for skill power like builds. I don't know, like if you're one of those guys, like fucking sound off in the comments. I'd love to fucking hear about it. But people usually pay him to buff like other Descendants. He's kind of like a support Descendant. I mean, he's no slouch, like he can fucking push out gun damage, but yeah, he's kind of like a buff machine. So his Transcendent mods, the ones which have been adjusted, are not, I would say, the ones which are mostly used. Okay, I mean, reinforced frontline duration is now 10 seconds instead of 8 seconds, and the firearm attack increase max HP times 9 to max HP times... Okay, so this is a buff. So it's usually your firearm attack increase is max HP times 0.0009. Now it is 0.001. So that's a buff. Yeah, that's a buff. Then concentrated fire, explosive drone has a less cooldown. Wow, the stack cooldown is a lot less. So explosive drone, concentrated fire means that you have more of those drones that you can throw out. So essentially that becomes like a spammable skill. So the stack cooldown is 5 seconds less. The cooldown for the actual thing itself is significantly dropped from 4 seconds to 0.5. It has a lesser mana cost, and then it deals quite a bit more damage. So I don't know if you want to get into that sort of thing. And then concentrated fire damage is boom, explosive damage. So again, 2 big buffs over here. Again, this seems like if you wanted to play like Enzo and you wanted to build him like a skill-based build, or at the very least, if you want those skills to have some, you know, impact and deal some damage, then, you know, cool stuff. Okay, Ines, we've discussed this already. So if you at this part of the video now and you did not watch the start, there's a dedicated section to Ines, and just fucking go back in the timestamps, you'll find it. Next we have Keelan. Dude, they are like the two fucking guys out there that are maining Keelan are fucking dancing though, bro. Keelan got some good buffs, man. So Void Corrosion has its explosive damage, its additional damage, and its decay. All of these things have been buffed. Onslaught has its pierce damage buffed, explosive damage, and additional damage. So just buff, buff, buff. Septic Gust is buffed significantly. And then Tremor, acidic DK damage per stack has also significantly been buffed. So these are very, very, very strong, just base damage buffs to Keelan. And it's going to make him, punch for a lot, harder. Then when we look at his Transcendent mods, Focus on Prey, the Void Corrosion here, the damage of the explosive, the additional and the acidic, again, has been significantly buffed. Onslaught has been... Yeah, so Focus on Prey, you can see here the difference here. So have a look, right? So for example, Void Corrosion in base, okay, base has been adjusted from 245 to 491. That's base without any Transcendent mod. Then when you slap in Focus on Prey, now instead of dealing 288, it deals 864. So that's even more than this. This basically doubles up, again. The same is true for the other ones. Onslaught and Septic Gust and Tremors, again the same thing. They get buffs as well. Of course, remember that Focus on Prey kind of like makes your, I believe it's your first and your second ability stronger, while not necessarily affecting your third and your fourth that much. I have to be honest, I have less than fucking 12 hours on Keelan, so excuse my ignorance when it comes to like the nitty gritty of his abilities. But the point is that you can see that with Focus on Prey, Void Corrosion and Onslaught become even better. Septic Gust, of course, still is increased, but not as much as the base. And then Tremor is also increased, but not as much as the base. So Void Corrosion, Onslaught is more powerful. Septic Gust, Tremor is still more powerful, but not as strong as the base. Essentially, your damage dealers then become your 1 and 2. And then we have Mobile Strike, which Onslaught, it removed restriction on aerial movement. Dude, that's big. That's big. And then also big damage increases here as well. So I think this is going to help a lot with like the fucking... Keelan's supposed to be like a hyper-mobile Descendant, and he is, but I think this is going to make him feel like a lot better. Then we have Ajax. So Ajax... Event Horizon, Firearm Explosive, attack increased by 20%, 40%, 60% at each enhancement level. Okay, and then Void Walk has an MP cost reduction. It has a damage increase by almost 4 times. And it has a stun duration increase by an additional 2 seconds. That's big. And then Expulsion also has less MP, base damage increase, and enhanced skill damage. Dude, fucking jump and slam, fucking jump around, Jack in the Box, fucking Ajax is gonna just absolutely slay now. My body is ready. Then when we have Void Explosion, base damage increase, huge damage increase, enhanced skill damage, huge increase, sub attack damage increase, meaning like you can punch shit for harder. This has also been increased, and then enhanced sub attack is huge. So I mean, he's that punch it wasn't like insane, but like this will just slam now. Then Void Charge, base damage, massive increase as well, and then the stun duration also essentially doubled up from 1.5 seconds to 3 seconds. Expulsion, big damage increase, and then enhanced skill damage, again big increase here. Matrix Recomputation, which is I think the buff. Matrix Recomputation is the one that you use with Ajax if you want his fourth ability to be like super buffy, right? Okay, so that's got like a big increase as well. And then when we have Body Enhancement, which is the other one. So generally speaking, when you are playing Jump and Slam or whatever, Ajax, you're using either Void Explosion or you're using Body Enhancement, depending on which one of the skills you want to focus on. With what's his name? With one, you're focusing on Void Walk, and with the other one, you're focusing on Void Charge or something like that. All right. So, Body Enhancement, base damage increase as well, MP cost reduction, and a stun increase. Expulsion, big damage increase, and enhanced skill damage, and MP cost also, all just buff, buff, buff. Life Barrier is this Transcendent mod that essentially makes that fourth ability like a safe space for people to stand in, and this is max reflection damage rate from 100% to 200%, and then enhanced max reflection damage rate, and that's if you use his skill to enhance his abilities, which is like his what do you call it, his passive, then it goes from 117% to 300%. Again, big. All right. Then we have Kyle. So Kyle's repulsion dash, big damage increase here. Magnetism spurt, big damage increase. Superconductivity thrusters. Base damage 26,980 to 40,420. They should have just made it 40,420.69, bro. Like, this is, I mean, like, fly into shit and explode them. Kyle might be back. All right. Then magnetic force proportional additional damage 12,861 all the way up to 38,585. I think Kyle's gonna fuck shit up now. I mean, there's a lot of people who were loyal to this Descendant all the way from back in the day when he was one tapping like Gluttony, which was a bug, I think. But now, I mean, he might just do that just because he can. Collision Instinct has its base damage increased and its stun duration increased. Self-directed eruption, base damage, big buff there, and the traction range, meaning the pull in, is also increased by 1 meter. Diametric Bulwark is also big base damage increase, and then Superconductive Bombing has also sees a bomb base damage increase from 835 to 1203. So again, just buffs all around. Then our second last Descendant is Bunny. All right. So her base damage of her Thrill Bomb, which is her first ability, has been increased from 156% to 683%. That's the base increase, right? And then maximum power, which is her fourth ability, I believe, has been increased from 502 to 1107. Now, Electric Condense, its base damage has increased basically, yeah, like a little bit more than twice. And this is 1,946 to 4,715%. Superconductive Thrill Bomb damage has also been increased. Electric Charge, base damage on double jump has been increased as well. And then high voltage, the Thrill Bomb, which you almost like never use with high voltage, because high voltage, that's like her boss killing build. You kind of like just run around and you build up charge and then you just electrocute, stuff. But this means that you can actually roll Thrill Bomb into your rotation. This is not like a small damage increase. This is a lot. So yeah, Bunny, they did not do anything to her third ability, so her main mobbing ability, it still remains unaffected, but they did make some of the other abilities better with the hopes of us obviously using them and rolling them into our rotations. And then we have Gley. Thirst skill, life sphere generation. This is a pretty big change for Gley. People that play Gley in groups will really love this. So Thirst life sphere generation condition has changed. When Gley defeats an enemy, is usually what it was. So it meant that you would compete with other players to get the kills so that you can actually get the spheres. This now says that when Gley or an ally defeats an enemy, you get those spheres. Big fucking change. Huge. All right. And then explosive life, and this is the one that I mentioned, that basically her AoE. So the base damage has increased significantly, okay, as well. And then the damage during frenzy is also significantly increased. All right. So then let's just reach to this. There's going to be just a couple of little things that we have to mention, but nonetheless super important. First of all, I alluded to this in the section with Ines, but essentially chain lightning and floating lightning no longer attack targets that are blocked by terrain, so she can't shoot shit outside, in other rooms and through walls and pillars and bullshit anymore. Basically, these effects are removed when they hit terrain, so they kind of like stop. They fixed an issue where Bunny's electric condense skill module did not reflect skill power modifier increase in damage. Okay, fine. There's some UIX things here. There's a new event for Blair. I'm just fucking quick scanning it to see if there's something that matters a lot here. No, I don't think so. Okay, so this section, oh my god, why is it like this? Oh my god, why is this, bro, why is the spacing like that? Why the fuck do I have to read it like that now? Hold on, I think I can get the patch notes somewhere else. One sec. Alrighty, so I found the patch notes on X. I think this is more readable. Usually I don't go through this, but I think it's important for the point that I want to make as to how I feel about the changes that they made. But let's go ahead and check out the director's comments, which pretty much explain their decision making behind some of the changes that we saw in this hotfix. So, greetings Descendants, this is the director. The balance between Descendants has been an important topic of discussion in the community. Recently, successive releases of new overpowered Descendants such as Ines and Serena have caused some content being cleared way more easily than intended. We're taking this trend seriously, and this rebalance is our first step towards addressing this problem. Okay. So this rebalance focused on strengthening relative underperforming Descendants, okay, which is good. Absolutely fucking do that shit. Using as basis the performance of Viessa, Valby, and Haley, who are the current baseline, okay? Now, they've mentioned this before, that these 3 Descendants are what they consider to be like the baseline of power level. However, we recognize that for some Descendants, simply tweaking some numbers are not enough to bring out the best in them. And at this point in time, I want to mention what I was talking about before when I said that fixing Jayber's fucking numbers is not the problem. Jayber's toolkit by default is broken. His turrets should be permanent fucking spawn that require like mana to fucking feed them or something like that. Creating like a loop where essentially you have to mod in so that he essentially sustains them with MP, and then these turrets are always up and they kind of like float around him, and as you move they shoot shit. That's kind of like what I want for him, and I know that the game isn't made for me. I'm just saying like that's what makes his turrets feel like a more engaging piece of gameplay for me than the current setup where you summon and then you got to move like 5 meters to the left and summon and move 5 meters to the left and summon. And it's just fucking annoying. So his mechanically he needs to be looked at. You can tweak the fucking numbers however much you want, it's just not gonna do anything, at least not for me. There might be some fucking Jayber lovers out there who'll be like, yo dude, fucking step off my boy, he's the best Descendant in the game, and to that I say power to you. If that's how you feel, then go with God. Then we believe that the mechanics of certain skills may need to be reworked to achieve more meaningful performance improvements. Yes, but we need to we had to adjust multiple Descendants simultaneously, and we apologize for focusing on numerical balances this time. This is the same excuse they make every time when they adjust numbers, is they always say like, hey, it's just like a lot to do, so for now we're just changing these numbers, everything like that, and there you go. And the concern that I have is it's becoming more and more a case of like them just moving knobs and stuff like that to kind of like appease some people or to make it look like something is happening, but nothing significant is really happening. Basically all that happened now is they just dialed up a lot of the Descendants power levels, and again, that's not meaningful changes. I'm sorry, but it just isn't. All right, we understand that you may find some changes inadequate because of that, but we'll continue to review and implement improvements. Great. Conversely, we determined that some of the Descendants whose performance significantly exceeded the baseline and could impact content structure needed adjustments. Ines is a prime example of this, and her performance is significantly above the baseline. I agree with that. I agree. Well, her used to be, right? So we made some adjustments in this patch. Freyna's performance is also above the baseline, but not so much that it breaks the flow of the content. So we've put an adjustment on hold. Okay. And I mean, they announced way back in the day that they were going to change fucking Freyna, and they pretty much have just left her alone the entire time now. Serena is a firearm-based dealer who we believe is currently significantly exceeding the baseline. No fucking shit. But since she hasn't been released for long, we'd like to see more data before deciding on how to respond. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where I find a fucking problem. If you're willing to adjust Ines the way that you have to be willing to also make the fucking decision and adjust Serena down. She's been out for long enough. You have enough information. How many more fucking videos do you want to see on YouTube of people killing the most difficult boss in the game in 1 second, clearing fucking void erosion purge in 1 minute and 30 seconds? Like, you have your leaderboards. That was a way for you to root out cheaters, but it was also a way for you to see fucking outliers in Descendants and how they perform. You have the data and you've had it for a while. I think it is, and I'm sorry for coming down so hard on them for this, but I think it's a spineless fucking move, all right, to only adjust Ines, and I don't have a problem with it, by the way. I'm okay with that. They should pull outliers in, no issue with that, but it's a spineless move to adjust Ines and not touch Serena. And the only reason I can think of that is the case is because she is the latest Descendant, and it's more likely that people are still going to swipe fucking money and unlock her instantly and try to mod her up and buy catalyst to mod her up quickly so that they can farm the Void Abyss boss quite easily, and so that they can find like they can do, you know, all the void erosion purge shit like with super ease with like Malevolent and stuff like that. So this to me is this is bullshit, because this fucking pretty much makes it that I was 100% correct with what I said in the previous video when I guess we were talking about Serena, and that was the case that essentially what's going to happen now is once Blair comes out, they'll nerf Serena, and then once the next Descendant comes out after Blair, they'll nerf Blair, and that's the point. And then people would have already spent catalyst, would have already spent money, they would have already gotten what they needed out of it. Nobody is fucking buying Ines anymore. So it's completely safe to nerf her now. It's not safe to nerf Serena because people are still spending real money on it. That's the TLDR right there. Fucking bullshit. We don't believe we can balance all the Descendants perfectly with this single patch. I agree. But you can clearly see that there's a problem with Serena. You can clearly see that. We'll continue to closely analyze post-patch data and make further adjustments to Descendants that fall short of the baseline or are overperforming based on community feedback. We also fine-tune Serena's performance along the way. Okay. I predict it doesn't happen anytime soon. We're also keenly aware that we've been releasing new Descendants in an overpowered state. While the dev team does hope for the new Descendants to be in the spotlight, we don't want them to be released overpowered to the point of breaking down the content structure. Well, that's unfortunate though, because that's literally been the case for like the last handful of Descendants that you've released. We're looking internally at the reasons of this reoccurring issue. I think we all know why that is. And we're working to improve our development process so that we can deliver more stable and balanced content in the future. This is the point though. And I'll be real, man, dude. This fucking game is a business, and more than that, it's a free-to-play game, dude. So they gotta incentivize people to spend money somehow. And Keelan was a massive fucking flop for them because there's also a lot of people who don't run Keelan. That's just the fact. If you like Keelan, dude, I'm not fucking insulting you. Have fun, dog. But like, it's a fact. You don't see a lot of Keelans, and there's a reason for that. Whereas you see a lot of Ines and you see a lot of Serena. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? So they're not gonna release Descendants who are like, they release Descendant and people go like, oh fuck this Descendant, like Serena's way better than that. Oh no, this is bullshit. Freyna's way better than that. Then once that starts rippling through YouTube and through Reddit and all of that stuff, and people start releasing videos, content creators start fucking commenting on it and stuff, do you think players are going to fucking develop those? Yes, there are going to be players that are going to do it, but the growing sentiment would be this is a weak Descendant and people will skip it. That's a fact. We're deeply grateful to all the players for their continued heartfelt feedback on the First Descendant. We consider this rebalance a step towards further refining the balance, and we'll continue to make adjustments and improvements based on play data, and do our best to provide better gaming experience. Additionally, in response to community feedback, we are currently working on improving Serena's wings so that they are no longer visible when she equips a common skin. Okay, that's good to know. The wings will only be displayed when she uses her skills, and this change will be implemented in the April 17th patch. It's good to know that they are focusing on really important shit. Okay, but all jokes aside, again, I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm not trying to be overly fucking difficult or hard to please, anything like that. And this video is already long enough as it is. So let me summarize everything and let me, kind of like let you go. I think the point is that balance is good and so on. At the moment right now, unfortunately for me in this game, the balance looks like just adjusting little knobs and everything like that to like go like, hey, what are the 5 least played Descendants? Okay, cool. Push their damage up by double or 3 times. Then people will play it because people will start rippling in the community and people are like, oh my god, have you seen Kyle can one-tap fucking Deathstalker by flying into it? Then everybody builds Kyle. That's how shit works in this fucking, game. And this is not meaningful change for me. I'm sorry, it just isn't. And then when you look at the reasoning behind nerfing Ines but not touching Serena, there's literally one change that they can make to Serena which will instantly rein in her power, and that's literally just her 4th ability. That's it. Leave her to be good with flying and dealing multi-damage and all that stuff or anything like that. Even that won't be nearly as strong as it is when they fucking tweak the HP boost, the HP translating to damage boost that her 4th ability does, which is just off the fucking chain. No other Descendant has that level of ramp. And yeah, that's it. But they're not going to do it because that is significantly going to hamper the chances of people touching that Descendant and building it out, and they're not going to risk the most recent Descendant falling into that fucking trap. So it is what it is. I think we also have to come to terms with the fact that this might be the way that they might want to fucking run this stuff. I understand that they have a very, very hard time because from the most recent thing at, what was it, not Gamescom, but like whichever fucking thing where they showed what season 3 is going to have in. And the point here was that there's a clear problem for them in deciding who they want to develop this game for, because the players in the Asian market want overpowered fucking shit and like insane power fantasy and being able to just blast them through content. This is what they want categorically. And then Western players are asking for balance and asking for all Descendants to be kind of like in the same power level and for weak Descendants to be brought up and all of that stuff. So in the end, they have like a dilemma, right? Because who do you make for? Because those are two very different requests, right? And they have very different results. So it's a push and a pull, and I don't envy them for this, because no matter what, there are going to be people that are upset with the decisions they make. But I guess that's the nature of the beast. Thank you so much for watching. I do apologize. This is a bit longer than usual. Tomorrow will be a shorter video, but thank you very much for watching. As always, fucking cheers.